what they actually end up doing. Okay? So in some cases, you basically lay an egg and just walk away. In other cases, you wait till the young has hatched or is born, and you nurture them in some way, whether it's milk, whether it's feeding them, whether it's giving them your dead skin, all of those different options. But most of the time, it's the female parent who cares for the offspring, and the male parent goes off and starts a new group, a new family. So that sort of feeds into your ideas about sexual conflict here. But in some rare cases, you have an organism that in order for the offspring to make it and to survive, you need both mom and dad participating. So what we're going to do today is we're going to simulate one season of breeding in a small patch of forest. Bearing beetles are highly endangered, so they're on the critical species list. So there are a lot of fish and wildlife actions to try to increase the populations. But part of the problem for these populations are that in order to have offspring, you need to find a piece of dead animal that hasn't been eaten by something else. You have to find a mate. You have to choose how many offspring to raise on that piece of meat. And you need the continued participation of both parents in order to be able to do so. We're going to be using a game form of exploring this. I have no idea how it's going to turn out, okay? Because this is a first pass. We've not done this before. However, simulations and this form of creative thinking is something that's fairly common in animal behavior. So being able to take something that's a game-style format and applying it to a situation can sometimes give you novel insights. So if you're just reading those articles, you get a certain amount of information. But if you get into the mind of the animal, if you experience the Umwelt, do you remember that word? So the perspective from its sensory perceptions, its limitations, you can ask and answer more different sorts of questions. So I'm not expecting us to have some glorious result at the end, but it's the experience that's going to be good for you. Sound good? All right. So at this point, what we're going to do is we want to start on our front page of your game. And I want you to keep this in mind. You have a goal. Each one of you is a beetle. And your goal is to maximize your individual level of fitness. So that means that you have to survive and you have to reproduce. In addition, time is your enemy because food appears at random and then it disappears because if you don't get to it fast enough, it's gone. So you have to make your decisions quickly. You have to reproduce within a very small period of time because you live up in the northeast of the United States where the weather is only nice from about April until about August. So if you don't mate and reproduce, it's over for you, okay? So you can't be too picky, but you still have to be a little bit picky. Sound good? All right. So what we need to do now is we're going to do character creation. So at this point, students are going to go and break off and we're going to make sure that we create our characters. So you want to go to your Beetle character sheet. What you want to do is you want to choose a name for yourself. So you can be the glorious Beetle or whatever you want to call yourself. You have to choose a gender. How are you going to choose a gender? Flip a coin. Flip a coin and choose if you're male or female. Okay? And then, so in order to create, for example, if you want to know how big you are of a beetle, this is what you're going to do. So see how it says 25 plus 2d6, right? What you'll do is you'll go onto here and you go down to d6 and you write 2. And you say roll. So your value is 7 plus 25, so that would be me. But it's whatever number you get. So everybody has been born. anyone still being born? Katie's still being born. She's having trouble being born. It's tough. Getting bored is half of it, right? Okay, so here's where we read out our funny poems. Okay, it is a starry spring night, and you are in a meadow. You're resting on a flower. You're full grown, and depending on what you roll, you are a various different number of millimeters in length. Okay, so some of you are big, some of you are small. Some of you are girls, some of you are boys. You inspect your wings. Are they in good working order? Have a quick look. Everything's good? Ready to go? Okay. So now, antennae out. Now it's time to sniff the air. Okay, today, come on. Seriously, sniff the air. Okay, so you're sniffing there. How are you sniffing around? So, can you smell any carrion or not? What you need to do is roll 1d20 and write down that score. Okay. So you've all sniffed the air? Okay. If you have a score of 14 or lower, you can't smell anything. So look sad. Put your heads down. Put your heads down, down, down. Okay, you can't smell anything. Those of you who've got 15 and higher, you can smell something. So put your hand up and see how many of you can smell something. Oh. Only 3 of you can smell the food. So only 3 of you are close enough to the food to be able to smell it. All right. Anybody roll a 20? No. Okay, so we've got 15. All right, so now I need to create a prey item for you because we need to discover this prey item together. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll 3d20. All right. Are you excited, those 3 of you who can smell a food? Yes? Okay, so it's a 29. So let's have a look at what a 29 could be.
Rabbit, possum, large bird.
A rabbit, a possum, or a large bird? What should we have it?
A large bird.
Let's have a large bird. Okay, so there's a large bird out there. Let's see if it's a good one or not. So we roll 1d6. It's a number 4. So it's a good quality bird. Great, so we've got a good quality bird. So 3 of you can smell a good quality bird. So now we need to race to the corpse. Those 3 of you who can smell it, now what you need to do is you need to roll to figure out whether or not you get there first. So roll 1d20 and add your dexterity score to that. Okay, tell me what your values are. Who's a smeller? Who can smell? 4. Okay. So your total score is 4. What's your score?
19 and 2, 21.
You got 21. Okay, and what about you? 1d20.
Character sheet.
1d20 plus your dexterity.
Yeah, I rolled an 8, 7.
What do you think? Huh? 16?
You had it?
Yeah.
Okay. Whoever got a score of 21, it's your large, high-quality bird. Okay?
What's your character's name? Oh.
Make a character's name. Okay? One large, good bird goes to. Just you can use your own name. Are you male or female?
Female.
Okay.
Okay.
Page. Okay. So Beetle Page has got that one. All right. So now we've got these other 2 who can smell it. All right. So who got 16? You arrive next. Okay. Are you male or female?
Male.
Okay, you're a male. All right. And your name is
Black Knight.
Black Knight. Okay. So Black Knight, you and Paige need to have a conversation about whether or not you want to mate. Okay, so you look at each other's scores, and now you are on mate choice. So they're down to mate choice, and you guys figure out mate choice. Another prey item is appearing. So we've got a few of you who could smell another prey item. All right, let's roll 3d20. Ready? It's a 39. It's a big one. I say it's a skunk. All right, so we've got a large skunk. Let's see whether or not it's a good quality skunk. 1d6. It's a 6. It's an excellent quality skunk. Best skunk ever. This is a large prey item. All right. So this was a medium. One large, excellent skunk. Okay. So, those of you who can smell the skunk, your next goal is to race to the corpse. Okay, each of you who can smell it, roll 1d20, add your dexterity, and let's see who wins. Quick. 19. Okay, we've got a 19.
23.
23.
23.
23.
20.
20. Anybody else can smell it?
21.
21. Anyone else?
24.
24 and a 12. Okay, so 24, what's your name?
Christopher.
No, what's your beetle name?
It's what I picked.
Okay, okay, so Christopher, are you male or female?
Male.
Okay, so we've got Christopher. Here's male. So far, our assignment of gender has matched our human gender. That's interesting. Okay, so Christopher, you are now in possession of a large, excellent quality skunk. This is great. Okay, so next we have these two who need to race. Okay, so who are you? 23.
Kim.
Kim and
Big B.
Big B. Okay. All right. So Kim, are you? What's your gender?
Female.
You're female. Big B. What are you?
Male.
You're a male. Okay. So this is interesting because we haven't so far had a case where now we have the two of you arriving on Christopher's skunk. So now, as far as Christopher's concerned, he's quite happy to start interacting and talking to Kim to decide whether or not he wants to mate. But Big B and Christopher, you have a problem. You need to decide what you're going to do. So let's go to the next step. You guys are at step 1.3.5. You are two males. Are you going to duel, fight, or retreat? So since you are in charge of the skunk, Big B, what do you want to do? Do you want to...
Can they see each other's size? Like,
that's a good question.
I would think that when they arrive, he can
Yeah,
suss
so
out the...
what's your size?
33.
And what's your size, Big B?
35.
Okay, so do you want to fight or duel with Christopher over this potential skunk? Okay. All right, do you want to duel or do you want to fight? Because those two things are different. Dueling, you can kind of get an idea of whether or not you're going to win or lose without incurring any damage to yourself. Whereas fighting, you can actually hurt each other. So what do you want to do? Do you want to duel or fight?
Okay, I'll find him.
You'll fight him. Okay, so you are an attacker. So you're the challenger. So you roll 1d20 plus, and you can choose either your strength or your dexterity, whichever is the higher value I suggest. And you get to defend with 10 plus your dexterity. Okay, so Big B, what's your fight?
20.
You got 20. Christopher, what's your value?
14.
14. Oh no, you just got hit. Okay, so now we have to hurt you. So sorry. So now we need to give you some damage to your total fitness. 1d6. I'm gonna roll it. Oh, lucky you. your total fitness score in that box, subtract 1, it's on your character sheet, subtract 1 from that value,
Okay.
-1. Okay. So you're still in possession, but you just hit him. All right, do you want to retreat or do you want to keep fighting?
I'll fight.
You'll keep on fighting for the skunk, this excellent skunk. Okay. All right, you want to keep fighting or do you want to retreat?
Oh, okay, fine.
Oh, he's going to keep fighting. Okay. So you're 10 plus your dexterity again. So you're 14.
Yeah.
So what are you going to?
Is mine time again?
Mm-hmm.
13.
13. Okay, so now you lose and you win. So let's have a look. What's the outcome over here? So you attacked, but you didn't actually hit. So should you withdraw? Should you hit again?
I'll go again.
Okay. All right, go again. So he's 14 and you're whatever score comes up.
22.
22. Okay, so now that means that you just hit him. So now we need to roll. Okay, -3 on your score. So what you can see at this point in time, and we can get ourselves stuck in this little do loop with this particular interaction. But what's going to happen over time is his score is going to slowly decrease. But remember, the clock is ticking, and so the season is progressing. Yeah.
The way that I originally thought of that was, whatever, do they have a constitution score? Is that what
Yeah,
the score
they
is?
do.
Then when that constitution score hits 0, that beetle is dead. So
Okay.
he's taken 4 damage. What's your constitution?
What is that?
Oh, it's like one of the
Oh, I
scores.
see. 4.
It's 4, so
So you're
I
dead.
died.
So then you will be dead.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, so Christopher is dead. Big B has now got the big excellent skunk, and Kim has arrived. Big B and Kim look at each other's scores and see whether or not you guys actually want to mate. So now what we need to do is we need to see if we can smell anything else. So everybody, go back to step 1.
It doesn't include.
1.1, roll
Yeah.
1d20.
Am I out?
You're out, you're dead. Your
Oh.
natural selection killed you. You fought too long. Sorry, I wish I wasn't, we're still learning our game.
Oh, that's it.
Okay, so 1d20. Anyone smell anything?
16.
Okay, we've got 16. Anybody else? 19. 16. Any other smells? 20. Oh, you got a good one. Okay, anybody else? 19. Anybody else smell anything? Okay. 18. 18. It looks like Erica smells. Okay. Smells carrion. All right, so we've got some kind of carrion. What is it? $32. Oh, this is good. We have a woodchuck. Congratulations on your woodchuck. Let's see if it's a good one. This woodchuck is good. It's on the lower side of good, but it's a large woodchuck, so I would say go for it. Okay. So at this point now we've got 2 other individuals, 2 that have got 19 that would be interested in arriving. Who were the scores for 19? We've got what is your chosen name? Oprah. Oprah.
Yeah.
And is Oprah a male or female?
Female.
A female called Oprah, and then we've got
Jim.
Jim. And Jim is
Male.
a male. Okay. Erica, what was your name? Tara. Tara. And are you male or female?
Female.
Okay. So, I think Tara would be more interested in Jim than in Oprah. However, Tara and Oprah need to decide what they're going to do. So, how big are you, Oprah, and how big are you, Tara?
34. 36.
Okay, so sorry, Oprah,
Mouth.
you keep on moving. Move on, move on. All right, so now Tara has the one large, okay, woodchuck. because you only were on level 2, so that's okay. It's not great. So we've got Tara. Tara, would you like to make with Jim? You need to talk to Jim about whether or not you guys have got, compare your scores.
Your total.
Oh.
47. Yeah.
Okay, so Tara and Jim. Okay, so at this point, we've got 3 couples on 3 pieces of carrion. So what I suggest is we're going to do a quick move ahead. If you are solitary, you need to get up and find a member of the opposite Beetle gender. Okay, everybody else who's unpaired, what we need to do is we need to roll for a quartz, roll for its quality, okay, and write that information down. So you're now a pair. Well, in real life, most of the beetles are not going to be able to find a corpse because just think of the probability of an animal falling dead without being preyed upon in the wild. And then if something dies and is in a forest, within minutes you're going to start getting flies and beetles and other things that are going to decompose it and break it up. So the likelihood of actually being able to find a prey item is really, really small, which is one of the reasons why this species is endangered, because it's hard to find the food to raise your babies on. Okay, so at this point, you are a family. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you guys a family? Are you a family? Okay, so we've got 7 families, and we've got 2 single males, and then we've got 1 dead. Okay? This is actually something that can happen if you have an unequal sex ratio. All right? Now, most species, when you have your offspring generated, you get your numerical ratio of, can you help me out? Numerical ratio of genders, or you're going to have 1-to-1 males to females as a result of meiosis. But in some cases, you don't get a 1-to-1 ratio. It could just be due to randomness, okay? But when you don't have a 1-to-1 ratio, is that a problem? Now, those of you who are paired are like, no, it's not a problem. Is that a problem for you? What's your fitness going to be at this point?
Not good.
Not good. What could you do at this point? Be creative. If you could do anything, you're a beetle and you could do anything, what would you do?
Fly.
And where would you go?
Carcass.
To somebody else's carcass. And what would you do at that carcass?
Dominate.
You would try to. If you can't kill the male, what might you do? Just think about bluegill sunfish for a second. Sneaker male. Okay, so while we're doing this, you 2 can be sneaker males. And I will bring you back from the dead, because I am God. And you may come back from the dead, and you can be a sneaker male too. So what that means is you're interfering with families. And you're going to try to persuade the female partner in the family that you would be a good idea. Okay? So while we're playing, you get to interfere. So you can get up off your seats and you can literally go and interfere with others. Okay? You're like, no. Alright, so each family, depending on your abilities, you're going to have a different amount of time to process your carcass. You've got to process it. There's a number of different things that go on with processing it. One is you're chewing up all of the meat and you are adding saliva that's got microbes to it. It's basically making a combination of like yogurt and beef jerky. All right, you're saving the food for later. You also have to get it below the ground so other scavengers don't get it. Okay? You might get unlucky and find your carrion in a piece of ground that's really rocky, it's hard to dig into, it's going to take you longer. Or you might be very lucky and have a piece of carrion that's on some nice soft soil and be very fast to dig. So roll 1d6 to see how many steps it's going to take you to bury your carcass. We're going to start at step 1 at this point.
Well, let's just let that.
So the map, does anybody take 6 steps? to get their carcass buried? Anyone taking 5 steps? Okay, what's the name of your family?
I'm single.
You're already
Single male.
Oh, you're single males. Do you have a carrier? No? So you guys are supposed to interview with other people. Okay. All right, so you'll be scavengers. Anybody else got a 5? Okay, what's your family's name?
Oh no, we're in brainstorming.
You better be fast.
Name.
I have no idea.
We're gonna go with I have no idea.
Okay, I have no idea. All right. A bitch. Okay, anyone taking 4 steps? 3 steps? Okay, we've got quite a few families. What's your family's name? Terrajim. Terrajim. Terrajimio. Okay. All right, next. Anybody else taking 3 steps? Yeah. Your name?
Big and Kim.
What's it? Big Kim. Big Kimmer, okay. Yes. You guys have been married the longest. You better have a
Crazy nights.
The Knights, okay. As you can see, I can't write on boards. All right, anyone taking 2 steps? Ooh, lucky you. What's your name? The Winfreys. The Winfreys. All right, and anyone who taking 1 step? Ooh, lucky you guys. Okay, what's your name?
Choros.
Choros. Okay, and then your name?
The Incredible Beetles.
Incredible. All right, we got some good names here. Okay, so we're in step number 1. So everybody is still digging. You're all digging right now. Okay, you're digging, you're processing, you're chewing. Okay. All right, I'm going to roll a 1d20, and we'll see what kind of threats there are. Okay. 6. No threats. Okay. So Charos and Incredible Beetles, you have buried. Good job. Well done. Okay, we're on to step number 2. Let's see. 1d20 roll. 12. Oh, 1 random group is threatened by a scavenger. Do you want to be a scavenger and threaten a group that's still digging?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, find a group. You find a group. That's random.
Okay, well, I was gonna roll for that, but.
Okay, you can roll for it.
Yeah, so can you roll, let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, roll 1d6 and I'll re-roll
Okay.
ones. Actually, I'll re-roll 6s.
Huh?
1d6, please.
1.
Okay, 1, Winfreys.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm
Winfreys.
a scavenger threatening you then?
Scavengers threatening you. Okay, so you need a 1. The threat roll is 1d20. Roll. Score 8. Okay, 8. You get to defend, so that's 10 plus the strength of the defender.
They win.
Huh?
They win, yeah.
They win? Okay. So you're saved. You're okay. You got threatened, but you're all right. You're making it. Okay, so congratulations, Winfreys. You have buried. Yes. Is this scary? Are you like? All right. So now we've got the Tarajimmies, the Big Kimmers, and the Knights. Okay. This is your last step. You're almost there. Let's roll. Okay. 3. No threats. You all win. You dig. Okay. So let's go to step 4. We've only got the I have no idea of inches left. 14. You're the only group. You're threatened by a scavenger. 1d20. 12. What's your score? 10 plus. Who's defending?
You should probably have
Plus string.
Yeah, 10
13.
plus your strength. 13. So it's 12 versus 13. You guys win. Lucky by the hair of your
Strong
teeth. You're
family
so
unit.
weak. All right. Okay, but then I have no no idea, bitches. You are still digging. You have one more step to go before.
Come on, forest fire.
Come on, D20.
Okay. 16!
Oh.
Okay, you're threatened by a scavenger.
Oh, okay.
Arr, okay, let's see. You made it! You made it!
Threatened by a sick mouse.
Yeah, threatened by a sick mouse. Okay, so at this point, everybody has reached 0. Your carrion and your family are safe underground. Can you imagine, I mean, just for a second, pause. Think about all of the steps that would occur in real beetles in the wild. You're in a part of the forest, you're like this big, and you have no idea what's going on 100 meters away. Or who's going to come and forage for you and eat you, and it's turkey season and they want to gobble up and eat you. You know, life is tough. Okay, so parenting. So at this point, what you're going to be doing is you're underneath the ground. You have cleaned off the fur. I'm going to show you some pictures. You're underneath the ground. You've turned your woodchucks and your skunks into basically a bowl of meat. And you're secreting substances from your anus and from your mouth to help to feed babies. So you start out with little eggs. The eggs hatch and they make small larvae. Mom and dad each have to feed the babies by mouth through a process called trophallaxis. So basically, it's like pigeon milk. Do you remember the story of pigeon milk? Except it's beetle juice milk. Okay? So you're busy. This is the shearing process. That's a mole, which is kind of cool. There's a mouse. Huh?
You can do it underground.
You can do it, you can do it. You're not going to get many babies on a size like this, so it's a good, you guys got lucky. You got really, really lucky. All right, so now within each family, you need to lay eggs. So you write down the mass of the corpse that you have. Okay, so remember what your corpse mass was. Okay, so female in the group, roll 3d10, and that's how many eggs you can lay. But this is where you and your partner need to have a little conversation. Depending on the size of your carrion, you may have too many babies. You may need to do a hamster just like Rossellini. You know what I'm talking about. Remember the video? Okay. Because if you have too many babies, there are two things that might happen. Thing number one, your babies are going to have increased competition with each other, sibling rivalry leading to siblicide. 2, less food to feed each baby means that your offspring are going to be little weaklings. And as you guys have figured out, being a big beetle helps. So figure out how many babies you're going to raise. Okay, how many babies are you guys going to have? 6. And how big's your prey? So you've got 31. So you're really wanting like a small number of like mega babies. Oh, you can only lay 6. Oh, well, so you're going to just do what you can. Or how many could you lay?
I could lay 17, but I'm doing 12.
Okay, and your prey is
24.
Okay, and then you're raising 23. And how big's your corpse? 39.
How many could you have?
23.
Okay, so you guys are maxing out. Okay, and you guys. So I haven't seen you get up and actually try to like interfere with somebody else, because you could go and challenge and duel. Even now. Okay, so now you guys are wandering around fitness 0. Maybe what you should do is go and find a place to hibernate, so you can make it for next year. Good idea. All right, how many babies are you going to have? 19. Corpse?
15, corpse 32.
You guys. And how many are you going to choose to raise? 12? Okay. All right. So, will your offspring survive or not? So on your very last couple of pages in your handout, have a look at that real quick. The last pages of your handout, there are, scroll down all the way, there's your egg survival sheet. So depending on how many eggs you've got, if you chose to raise 15, put egg number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 all the way to 15. Now what you're going to be doing is figuring out how many of your eggs actually make it in order to calculate whether or not they make it and if they're a high quality offspring or not, which is ultimately whether or not you've got good fitness. You're going to follow the rolling steps. You're going to determine whether or not you're good or bad parents. So roll 1d6. Are you good parents or bad parents?
We're average, yeah.
Now remember, there could be a genetic component to being a good parent. Remember the phosphate-3 mice? If you give the knockout mice and they just didn't even bother pulling their babies in a pile? Okay. Do we have any bad parents in the room? Oh, well, it's so sad. You have a really nice prey item too, and you're going to suck at being parents. Okay, have we got some good parents? Nice, all right, we've got some good parents. What about some averages? Okay.
Did you say how we were average parent, you know, be modified by your charisma skill?
Potentially, yeah. Potentially. See, this is where when you're starting to think creatively about it. Okay, being a good parent, what does that really mean for a beetle?
Yeah.
And it's not just one parent, it's both parents, because you have to think about both the male and the female. But obviously this story, we're trying to keep it simple. But in real life, you could have a male beetle that's up at leaves, right? Okay, so now determine your food quantity modifier. So you've got your carrion's mass and your egg number. If your egg number is greater than the carrion's mass, you have a modifier of -1. If you're equal to your carrion mass, it's 0. And if you have a smaller number of eggs than you have carrion, then you use up +1. All right, so you need to determine whether or not each egg survives. So start with egg number 1. Roll 1d20 and add your modifier. So it might be -3 + 1. And figure out what your total value is. Using table 3.2.3, you figure out if you survive and you're low quality, you survive, you're high quality, or if you die. Alright, so what I'm going to do on the board is I am going to make a table and then you guys can help me add the data. Okay, as each family finishes raising their brood for this year, can you guys come up here and help add data onto the table?
Okay.
On your sheets of paper, do us a favor. So you've got the name of your family, and then make sure maybe what we should do is have the family staple their packages together so we know that you guys were a family, so when we analyze your data, we know who was paired with whom. Because what we want to do is we want to look at, does the size of the beetle make much of a difference? Was it the size of the carrion that made more of a difference? What really affected the number of offspring? So at this point in time, we've kind of like rolled through the basic mechanics of the simulation. Now, as you can see, doing it in a classroom, when you've got a small number of people and a limited amount of time, you can only do so many rounds. A more efficient way of doing this, and this is exactly how behavioral ecologists would do it, is you would create a small computer simulation that you can press go and say, run me 500 beetles over X number of generations, and then you can actually look at the data more clearly. But in order to run a simulation like that, what you would have to have are realistic parameters. And I don't know if we actually even have realistic parameters. So when Dave was helping me come up with this, we were needing to make decisions about things like, okay, does your baby live or does your baby die? And to the greater extent, what we did was just create some sort of arbitrary probability. But you could go out into nature and figure out what the actual probabilities of survival are and generate a probability curve that then dictates whether or not your offspring survive or die. Okay? So real ecologists would put this into a simulation and be able to get bigger data sets, and then you'd have to crunch that data set with some statistics. So the two guys that came up with the original version of this lab, so Stephen Trumbo, who's a professor at Waterbury University, and Derek Sykes, who's now director of the Alaska Fairbanks collection. So Derek Sykes was working on his PhD, and Stephen Trumbo was his advisor, and they came up with the Trumbo 1996 lab. So that was the one where it's like you actually have buckets, and you measure how heavy your mouse is, and you measure your beetles, and you put them in to make a family. And as the semester goes, each week you go and you measure your baby beetles. At the end of the semester, you go and evaluate it. But that only works if you, one, have a kind of class where you've got labs, and two, you've got to have a place to put sinking corpses. So it's a little bit more time consuming and smelly and space consuming. So the goal behind this was, how do we create a simulation, artificial version that anyone, anywhere could get into the mindset of it and sort of step through the process. Question 5. All right, so imagine in your family, you've got both the male and female sitting on the corpse working. Without any assumptions about parental roles, one could simply say, I expected there's two parents, that the job of nourishing the offspring would be split 50-50. Why not, right? Unless you had any other information, in which case you would have to restart that thought process. But let's start with, if you've got a male and a female that split that task equivalently. So if each, you've got your male, you've got your female, how much time should they be spending looking after their offspring? Let's say, for instance, it's 50-50. So 50% of the male's time, 50% of the female's time, they're looking after offspring. So it's an equivalent amount. It's not 100% of the time, though. We're just arbitrarily saying 50%. So choose one parent first. So let's choose the male parent. He's going to be our focal parent. So we're going to say, okay, if the male parent is within his control family, we haven't done anything to the family, he's got his female, how much time should he be spending? 50% of his time. Okay, so now what we do is we're going to handicap the male. So we're going to chop off a few of his legs. Okay? Or maybe we'll glue his mandibles so he can't move it so much. So then what's going to happen? Do you expect the female's going to increase her provisioning to maintain the offspring? Yeah, because he won't be able to provision as much. So his provisioning level will be lower, hers will be a little bit higher. What happens if you handicap the female but not the focal male? What will happen to the male's provisioning? It should go up a little bit, right? And what happens if you killed the female totally? What should happen to his provisioning level? Double. It should almost double because he's going to have to do both of the jobs, right?
How can these beetles live multiple years? Like if your mate dies, can you say like, I'm going to let all my babies die, focus on myself, and try and get all the resources I need to have a good mating season next season?
That's a good question. I think that they can live multiple years. I don't want to be 100% sure on that because there are multiple species and they have slightly different life histories. So it may be something that we need to look up. It's okay. For the species, can it survive for multiple years? And is it a good idea if you've got, let's say you've got 4 babies and you and your partner are each working 50-50. So that's the equivalent of you looking after 2 babies. So if your partner dies, should you just give up those 2? Is it better to have 2 babies or 0 babies? Because you don't know what's going to happen next week if you're going to die. From a natural selection perspective, any baby is better than no baby. So you should still try to provision as much as you possibly can. So maybe you can't raise all 4, maybe you can only raise 3 because it's such an extra effort to nourish more than 2. Right?
But say like male and female are paired, but the female day is like really early into the season. Wouldn't it be more worthwhile for the male, since it's so low cost to the male to find, well, not find a new mate, but once he finds a new mate, it's low cost to him, since he doesn't have to produce the eggs himself. Wouldn't it be better for him to find a new mate rather than?
That, yeah, if it was early, yeah, that's absolutely correct. If it was really early in the season and she had just laid eggs, so they've just processed the corpse, she's just laid the eggs and then she dies. Cost-wise, all he has to do is get above ground and do this behavior. Is there a picture of it? Oh, I don't have a picture of it. It's
The handstands on the packet.
handstands on the packet, yeah.
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 Whereas if it was the male who died and the female would want to stick around because it's such a high cost to her to make the eggs in the first place.
Right, and here's the thing is, you don't want to ever abandon your corpse.
Yeah.
Because other individuals, so now in our game we were kind of limited, but other individuals will smell the corpse and will try to get there. We try to simplify the process by saying the first arrival wins it, and second arrival, if they're an opposite gender, can mate, if they're the same gender, dual. But the truth is that you might end up with 4 or 5 or 6 beetles of various different genders arriving at a corpse, trying to duke it out as to who's going to win. So it's possible that it would be fairly easy early in the season to get an extra
Yeah.
mate.